reconvene 2 minutes early. Everybody okay with that? I think we've got everybody in the room. So we will reconvene the meeting at 9:48. Okay, and we have a full house, as I understand it. Online, we've got Councilors Graff, Kneebone, Mahuta, and Councilor Dunbar Smith online, and in chambers we've got myself, Councilor Hodge, Strange, Smith, Nickel, Downard, Cookson, Marr, and Hughes, and Councilor Clarkson as well. So no apologies. Confirmation of the agenda. I got a mover, Councilor Marr, and a second, and Councilor Clarkson. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, disclosures of interest. Any disclosures of interest with relation to items before council today, or new disclosures that need to be added to the register? Nope. Okay, so we'll now go on to the minutes for confirmation or receipt. So we're starting with the confirmation of the council minutes. So this is the open and public excluded council minutes from the 27th of February, 2025, as well as the extraordinary council meeting on the 17th of March, 2025. I have a mover, Councilor Clarkson, a second. I'll second that. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, now we've got our bundle of minutes. Now, before we move to this motion, I do want to offer a congratulations to Councilor Marr, who has been elected the co-chair of the Hauraki Gulf Forum. So congratulations, Councilor Marr. And well done. And also, before we do this motion to receive these, now, Councilor Hodge, as the chair of the EPC committee, there was a note or a action, was it an action point? Yeah. On riparian characteristics monitoring. Did you want to speak to that? This is on page 39 of your agenda packs. Councilor Hodge, did you want to? Oh, just a microphone there.
The question was out at the table, and they supplied us with very good explanation to what the question was at the table at that time.
Okay.
So the people, I think it went all out to EPC. Bruce got it, I got it, Bean got it. Yeah, we all, and it was good. It was good and clear and understandable.
Great. So I wanted to, can I just check in Democracy, Dave? Is that, so is that sufficient discussion, or is there additional discussion that needs to be
because it was
noted?
If the members have no questions pertaining to these minutes, then we can move on, most certainly.
And our minutes went out earlier to the team as well. So okay. There's no surprises.
Right. All right. Just wanted to check in on that one. All right. So we've got the minutes that we're confirming for strategy and policy, EPC, ICMC, climate action, finance and services, and the CERC committee. We are also receiving the Future Proof Public Transport Subcommittee and the Hauraki Gulf Forum. Yep. Do I have a mover for that? Councilor Hodge, you happy to move that?
Yep, sure.
And a second, and Councilor Clarkson. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we've got further recommendations coming through from the Finance and Services Committee from the 6th of March. This is item 6.6 in your agenda on page 71. Councillor Hughes, as the chair of that committee, did you want to speak to that? So this is page 71. Oh, just microphone.
The issue is, I thought we were talking about the bus.
No, we're
Contract.
talking about the recommendation from the Finance and
SIPO?
Services Committee around the forecast. Sorry,
71.
page 71. Is there any comments that needs to be added? Janine or?
This,
Just the information to approve that.
oh, yeah. I thought we'd already discussed it, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like just that the reforecast has, it was tabled for the Finance and Services Committee. It was approved, accepted and approved at that committee and subject to subsequent approval by the full council. At this stage, council is running slightly behind, but as we know from this, changes happen very quickly, and you'll have seen what's been happening internationally. Turmoil in the markets will have an impact. That'll flow through in the next quarter. So it's really too early to say where we're going to end up. Last year there was a significant turnaround between the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So at this stage, I'm happy to move that this is a fair reflection of where the council sits, finances sit, as at the end of December. I'd like to thank Janine and the team for presenting this to us. Thank you.
All right, and we're also the committee has recommended the approval of the SIPO, the Statement of Investment Policy and Objectives.
And that's as per tabled at previous
right.
meetings for council. So it's really a matter of formal acceptance of that.
Right. Any Councillor Smith, have you got a question?
The IRS program, is that financial or regulatory? I just can't remember.
It's regulatory and other activities of council, but it's not the Infor system that you think of.
So is this a systemic issue that because with the financial program in the ICM space, we can't get reports to committees. At the last subcommittee meeting, the financials were 5 months old, and we were told that they can't get them out within the end of the month or whatever. We can't have, there's no timely report. So is this a systemic issue with IT in the business?
I will either go to Janine, Director Becker, or who am I going to? Who would like to speak to this?
I'm happy to, but I think Janine's in a better position to be able to comment on it.
We're grabbing a mic there.
So through the chair, the inability to provide that information is news to me. I'd need to talk to Greg Ryan around that. Certainly, we are producing monthly financial reporting information for the organisation and have actually been working really hard as a team to make sure that that's being done in a more timely manner. So I'm not sure where that gap is. I know the executive team have already considered results from February in the middle of this month for the organisation. And so we are getting into a really good cadence with that. So I'm not sure where that misalignment
so
is.
So just to help, the subcommittee meeting was about the middle of February, about the 15th of February. And the latest financials that the staff advised us was end of September quarter, and they can't produce them any quicker than that. So I was a bit grumpy as chair of the subcommittee and saying that
Yeah.
we need more timely 5-month-old reports are just a waste of time. And was told it was an issue with, so maybe it's something to take offline. Is it a staff
it
training
is,
issue
yeah.
or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. So we've got a mover and Councillor Hughes. We've got a second and, Councillor Mahuta online. From that. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Health and safety report. Okay, so this is item 7.2. Am I? Yep. This is on page 119 of your agendas. We have Stu Brown to take us through.
Great. Good morning, councillors. I'll take the report as read and point out a few areas of interest and take your questions at the end. You'll see there that Vicaria Management Limited have had their fines overturned in the High Court. We're going to continue to watch this as it progresses. It may stand or it may be challenged by WorkSafe, so you'll keep you posted as that progresses. Moving through, you'll see in the legislative compliance space that there was one notification to WorkSafe in the last period, and that was really due to a staff member having his knuckle struck by a nut, which was fairly painful for him, and we assumed that there may be a fracture and he went off to hospital, but thankfully not, just bad bruising and some time off and rest, and he is on the road to recovery, which is good. Moving through on the summary of the risk actions there, you'll see vehicle use risk, working around water and threats, aggression and violence covered off. And a couple of points to note in that, specifically around the vehicle use. One of the things there is really the fit for use vehicle for the job in hand. And that's right from the procurement stage of the vehicle to ensure that we are purchasing the correct vehicles for the work that we're doing, and also that the staff consider the work that they're going out to do and where they'll be going with the vehicle and the load that they'll be carrying, for example, and ensure that they are, selecting the correct vehicle there. Working around water, I think last month you'll remember I called out ICM for the good work that they've been doing around their assets. This month I'd like to call out SPY. They are exemplary in the working around water space. They have a tiered level structure for competency from 1 to 5, basically from not trained right the way through to highly competent and able to assess when working around water. And they're doing a fantastic job in that space. Point 32, the psychosocial risk management. I've actually brought a pamphlet around to let you see today in that space. I know this is often an area that we discuss. I'll hand a couple of these around. This really covers off what we do in the primary, secondary and tertiary space for support, and that's really around our prevention, things like our wellbeing, staff team initiatives, My Everyday Wellbeing Programme, the Leadership Development Programme for our leaders, that kind of supportive and intervention space, things like staff reporting mechanisms and DAMSTRA, employee rehabilitation and staff participation in risks. And then the tertiary or the recovery section covers things like our employee assistance program, critical incident debriefing. So that just gives you a bit of a flavour of the extent of things that we have in the organisation, and it's good that we've got them in one place. And I can have one of these hung up on your notice board so you can reference that. So you can look at as you go through that. Just to note this. Flu vaccine is coming up again in the middle of April there. You'll see between the 15th and the 29th, and you're quite welcome to avail of that yourselves if you'd like to. And I've also put in towards the end of the report the security of councillors. I think we talked about that in the last meeting or potentially the meeting before. I've had a one-page document laminated and put on your notice board just so you can see, you know, what we offer for you in that space. So I'd encourage you to have a look at that. And I've put in again an update around the public transport. I know that that's been an ongoing theme over the last couple of years in the work that we've been doing in that space, mostly with Kinetic around the bus transport. You'll see that there have been a couple of assaults, and I thought it was just worth noting that over the last sort of 3 months that they have come up. Sadly, it's a daily occurrence that drivers are abused or spat on or they face a number of unpleasant things on a daily basis, and that's part of their life, which is a bit sad. But I guess it's more serious when they start to become assaulted, and we had a driver punched, and unfortunately another just totally unprovoked attack whenever a driver was having his break out the front of a bus, and an individual ran past and pushed him to the ground and ran on, and unfortunately he had fractured ribs from that. So keen to look at how we can do more in this space to look after the drivers out there. We've talked over the last couple of years around the progress that we'll have made with Kinetic in this space. We've got really good relationships right through that organisation, and the same with Waikato Regional Council. And Phil, you know, continues to go to the steering groups and discuss things with the Chief Executive in regard to this. I guess the key for me will be getting a police liaison if we can do that. You'll see I've noted that in the report. I've contacted Inspector Jones and another member of the intelligence branch there, and they're going to meet with me on Tuesday afternoon to look at how we can surface the themes around what's going on with the buses. I guess we're not sure if the themes are being captured by the police as best they could, and I want to explore how we may potentially be able to report this to them. Often it'll be a different driver in a different location, so their reporting may not pick that up as a consistent theme of Kinetic. So we're going to look at that specifically with them and how we may better support Kinetic to be able to report on that, so we can get the support from the police to look after our drivers and members of the public. Was all the kind of key points that I wanted to raise today. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Just a quick question. Do all of our bus drivers have those sort of enclosures when they're in the bus, or no?
No, they don't.
No.
They don't. So nationally, there are a number of things going on, and that is one thing that's being trialled. I think that was down south, but we don't specifically have that here. Phil may want to comment on that.
I just need a microphone. Chris, if I can. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So we don't have those screens across the network across the region at this stage. NZTA has reopened their safety fund and are seeking applications from all regions at present. And we are working with both of our operators to identify opportunities to apply to that fund. That will require a local share. So part of the conversation is working with the district councils to secure that support from them, as well as anything that we can contribute. So that's the process we're undergoing at the moment for the agency's safety fund right now.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Phil. Also, thank you, Stu, for on page 127, you've included some information around counselor safety. I appreciate you including that information for our review and for our knowledge. Thank you for that. All right, I've got Councillor Strange, then Cookson, then Hughes. Councillor Strange.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, and I'd just like to echo your thoughts around, thank you for that councillor safety plan as well. Most of it seems pretty common sense, but it's often handy just to have it there in plain writing. So thank you. Yeah, just on the bus driver safety. Yeah, we obviously want all our bus drivers and passengers to feel safe at all times. so yeah, it's great to hear that NZTA are opening up the fund for, yeah, some increased safety measures. Just follow on that, will that come back to us through the annual plan, or is it a little bit more timely than that?
If required, yes. But there hasn't been clarity on the timing of that process at this stage.
Thank you. And yes, Stu, yeah, just wondering, with these issues that you say are happening on a daily basis, it would be good to get that data, just to see those themes and patterns, like you say, in order for us to, feed international conversations and just to have an appreciation of what our bus drivers do experience and face. They're often, the front-facing face of regional council. And yeah, we do appreciate everything that they do. So yeah, anything that we can do to help them feel safe at work. Yeah.
Certainly, yeah.
We would like to
Connecticut
support,
do a good
yeah.
job at capturing that reporting monthly that we'll be able to share. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just wondering maybe if that data needs to come through the PT subcommittee as well.
Definitely. But I do think it's good to come through full council, just so all councillors are aware of any trends or anything that we need to be aware of. And also just any comment we can make around the timing of these funding rounds for additional support from central government. Anytime we can feed back to central government what our timelines are, so that hopefully they might be able to take those into account. That would be helpful. Right, Councillor Cookson.
Yeah, my one was more external staff out of the building. Like, is the mental health measures, because they're a bit more of a hardy group of people that are working individually on their own, is there the appropriate measures assessing or, staff contact with others to make sure that people their well-being is being taken care of? Because it's a lot harder in that external field. I've brought a couple to you in the last 2 or 3 years, or you two bit years, that, it's easy to measure in this building. It's a lot simpler, but is that support actually going to the boots on the ground? Because those guys are in a single working environment. They're taking on huge workloads with deluge and shovel-ready funding. And, is there appropriate interactions going on in that space?
Yeah, I would say there is, Councillor Cookson. I guess that's really where the leadership development piece comes on, having the management support around people that are out there and ensuring that they're looked after, and when they come to work on a Monday, that, checking in with them and what they're doing. We do have, it's a pretty comprehensive range of support that we've got.
I understand, but
That
because the
personal-
hardy guys,
Yeah.
hardy people, hardy women that are working in that space, they're most probably not going to, unless they trust someone, they're not going to share what they're going through at that time. That's the bit that you need. That's the wraparound that you need to have. There needs to be someone in that space that they 100% trust. They're going to say, hey, I'm really feeling like this, or, without any, and I think that's just maybe lacking a little bit. That's the bit that I'm trying to get across, that, I've reached out to key staff and they've gone and done that themselves, and it's most probably not their job. So that's what I'm saying. There needs to be a bit more in that gap. That's my point of view, and I just want you to look at that a bit further. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Councillor Hughes.
Chair. Stuart, I'd just like to circle back to the issue of the bus drivers and passenger safety. This pandemic, if you call it, seems to have started in Auckland. I'd like to think that we're leaning on them rather than trying to reinvent the wheel how we stop this, because they've obviously come up with systems and processes to deal with it. I think the incidents of reported incidences in Auckland have certainly dropped away recently, so I can only encourage you to communicate with them and find out what works and what doesn't work, rather than trying to go it alone. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And there's a number of different mitigations being tried right across the country. Different things being tried in different areas, and I know Tauranga specifically has had a lot of issues as well, and the South Island. So yeah, we're keen to keep involved at that national picture and ensure that we can pick up whatever the wins are there. So that's a great point. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just,
Phil, did you want to?
yes, maybe I'll just add to that, that the members of the steering group meeting are their national leadership team. So they bring that insight to those discussions and have described Auckland specifically in that conversation. So yes, we're definitely learning from what they have learned through that journey that they've been on in other parts of the country.
Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, thanks for your report, Stu. Just looking at the increasing EAP usage, and is there any correlationship with, do you think, with possible stress for staff with the review that's going on currently with the ICM Directorate?
Yeah, there's
And
no,
is it something we should be addressing?
there's no doubt that that will cause stress. You know, there's uncertainty there. That review's been going on for a while now, so it'll be good to get out the other side of that. I don't think that the EAP usage is outside of the normal parameters, which is good. But certainly that is one thing that will cause staff stress with uncertainty. But yeah, I'm reasonably confident that in the near future we're going to be having an action in that space, which will be good.
Yeah, it just sort of seems those figures are now 30% higher than previous year, the usage of it.
Oh, I think the figures might be, but I guess our overall head count has increased as well. So it's really that percentage usage that's the key metric there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I do note that you say that 72% of the referrals are for personal reasons
That's
as
right.
opposed to work related, right?
Yep.
Is that a 30% more staff?
No, it doesn't quite work like that. But yeah,
That's what you inferred.
we would like that, but no.
Councillor Smith.
To circle back to the issue of the safety, overseas, most of us, I think, have travelled, and I was recently in Sydney and saw the transport police in operation on the trains, as ruthless as any Sydney cop I've seen in action previously. Is it contemplated that the regional sector is looking to the government at all to look at those security guards haven't got the powers that they need? And is it time, rather than being way behind the 8 ball and having more drivers or passengers injured or killed, that the regional sector was proactive in this space to go into government and seeking staff of that nature? Thank you.
That will be one of the things to discuss with the police. I do know that some areas of the country have actually employed security guards. Obviously, there's a huge cost involved with that. And like you say, you know, their powers aren't the same as the police force. So I will pick that up with the police and discuss that with them and come back to Phil for discussion on that as well. Yeah.
But yet, just to add, it's not a live conversation within the Transport SIG under Te Uru Kahika at this stage, but if it, I think it's likely that it will come back through there at some point, but there's no active discussion happening at the national level at this point.
All right, if there's no further questions on this report, thank you very much for what you've provided us this month. It's been fantastic. We've got a mover in Councillor Smith and a second in Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stu. Much appreciated. All right, we now go to item 7.3. This is the adoption of the annual plan consultation document. This is on page 128. Councillors will recall we did do a workshop on this document, and the draft was sent out early. Comment. So any opening comments, Jane, or just want to go straight to? Go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll just briefly go over the points of the report. Obviously, the workshop has been held with councillors with draft consultation text on the 10th of March. Based on that feedback, a new version of the text has been redistributed, and based on a couple of comments that have come through from individual councillors, there are some minor changes that have been made that are listed in the table on paragraph 8. And now we have the final consultation document. This is required to be adopted by council for consultation, which is due to open on the 1st of April and run until the 30th of April. I'm happy to take any comments. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Nicol.
Thanks, and always love seeing this in final format. There's always more stuff that comes to mind when that happens. So I've just got a few little suggestions that I'm keen to hear if others don't like them. Otherwise, hopefully you do. On page of our agenda 136, where it says your views matter, I thought it could be helpful if that last paragraph was in bold, where it says you'll find the contact details for councillors, etc. Just because there's a lot of text to get through, and I think it would help the eye jump. Further down next to the circle that says 19 to 22 May, it says you can speak to councillors about your feedback if you wish. I thought it could be helpful to put in brackets that it's in person or via video, or however you want to term that, because I think that helps people realise that it's not so difficult.
So, sorry, just wanted to make sure I
Yeah.
understood what you wanted to.
You can
add?
speak to councillors about your feedback if you wish. We could just put in there something that it's either in person or via video link, or that people understand that both are available these days. Because the hearings are these days covering both of those. Just to help people understand who aren't engaging with this process that often. A lot of them. Thanks for including in the report those few suggestions in that table up front, by the way. That's in the memo, so everyone's seen it. I thought it could be helpful to have some of the other towns listed under that table on page 138, which is the public transport table. And it's got, for example, Cambridge, Huntly and Te Awamutu, but it wouldn't hurt since we have the space to say Raglan, Morrinsville, just since it helps connect people to see themselves in there faster. For that one and for the regional Waikato serviced ones.
Oh, I see. So you're talking about the blue box, the public transport access.
Yeah,
Right.
the two serviced ones under Central Waikato and Regional Waikato. Just if we're giving some examples, we may as well give a few more so people can immediately see that it does include them, realise they've got the map too. It's a really minor things, some of them. Under the next page, option 1 and option 2 are being presented for public transport. About halfway down those boxes, there's a little paragraph and it says no change to current costs. Wondering if it would be worth saying to current total costs, because I think that's what's intended, is that it's the total pool. But when you're reading it as a member of the public, you're obviously always searching for your costs. And so that becomes apparent further down. Just adding the word total could help. Thank you for including the little starred sentence under the option 2 boxes where it says, for example, a $500,000 property and a $1 million property. Just thought it could be worth, if we have the space, to add the $1.5 million property as well, of what that would pay, because that would allow it to kind of be more in context of option 1's city-wide serviced. Otherwise, yeah, option 2 will continue to look always estimated as lower. And I thought then you're encapsulating what option 1 is really relative to a lot faster. I had a question, which was, because it says underneath that in pink, to see how your property would be rated and the impact of the council's preferred rating option, visit the website. When they visit the website, will they only get to see the preferred option, option 1, or will they be able to see both? Because I thought it would be nice for them to be able to toggle between the two. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So there will be what we call the rating calculator, and that will present an individual property's rate under council's preferred option. But we will also have another tool that will be linked on the same platform, where they'll be able to compare what they'd pay under option 1 and 2.
Okay,
for that particular.
That was the main thing,
Yeah,
that
so
they can
see
see both easily. Thanks. That was all of the ones for the public transport one. I just had a couple small ones for Wharekawa. So may as well cover that off now. And that was on page 142. The last paragraph of all the text we've written there starts to get into the direct benefit and indirect benefit explanation. Because I noticed that now on the next page, we obviously don't use the low-lying properties and hilly properties piece. So I got the impression that when people read through, they might skip the very end of that first bit of text and get to the next part and say, oh, what's this about direct and indirect? So if there's a way we could bold that last parts of that last paragraph, or make it into a pop-up box or something, then people will immediately see the direct and indirect in their eye line so that they can make that connection. My other point on the picture was the Western Firth Catchment Group picture. My question is, do people think that, could they think that perhaps the money is going towards the catchment group if we put that picture there? Just as a misunderstanding, because we're talking about doing catchment work, just a thing that could be implied. So I was going to say, well, do we maybe crop it a little bit or have a more generic picture to try and mitigate that? It's more something to reflect on for the comms team. I'm not too worried either way, I'm just saying it could come up. And then the last piece was in the options boxes on page 143. The whole theme of the comms branding is orange for these options, and we've got the direct benefit area in orange as well. I just thought that could be worth making pink or some other non-orange color, just separate it from the framing and the, since we can play with these colors as much as we like when they're not branding colors. So that was all my feedback, and I appreciate the patience of my colleagues to let me run through that.
All right. What do we got? Councillor Hughes.
Oh, thanks, Madam Chair. Very simple one, Jane. My phone number on page 151 is not correct. So I apologise to whoever that phone number might be for getting irate reports. So I'll give you the correct number later on. Not sure where else that number's been advertised, but it's not mine.
No idea if that's mine.
All right, Councillor Smith.
So on page 137, I'd just like to say thanks for the words in the last paragraph of that statement, and where it says, but owing to lack of strong public support for either of these models, our councillors were keen to explore. That more fairly represents, because I think that's really stating what happened. The public said we don't like it, whereas the previous wording, councillors were given credit to saying, no, this wasn't good enough. So thank you for reflecting what really happened, because I think that's, well, it's important to me that that's what we reflect. Thank you.
Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Probably adding to Jen's here, maybe that picture changes to a little bit of river work or something, which is more relative to the work that we're doing in Wharekawa Coast. Around the questions on where we're holding that hearing meeting, yeah, definitely Hauraki District Council somewhere, whatever's going to work out for the technology, rather than I know Thames Council have offered, but yeah, rather see it happen in that area. And then lastly, I know I wasn't here for the workshop, but I still don't see the need for the Coromandel consents piece to be in there. It is my area, unless other councillors have a real need to see it there. I'd rather see it removed. I think it just creates more confusion. It's not a talking point that we're looking for, so I don't see the need for it to be in there. That's me.
Councillor Cookson, and then Councillor Nicholl.
Yeah,
Again, Councillor Cookson.
what the Councillor Marr just mentioned about where it's going to be held, that's still to be decided. So it should be it'll be in the Hauraki Plains. It shouldn't be actually mentioned where it is, because we don't even know if it can be held in the buildings in Ngatea, because they're being upgraded at the moment. So it might even have to be in Chambers and Pyral. So, yeah.
Right, Councillor Nicholl.
Found a couple more, Jane. It's on the later pages though. It's on 149 where we start getting into the public transport fares. Thought it could be worth, at the end of that first paragraph, it says increase the portion of cost that's covered by the fares paid by transport users. I thought it'd be worth saying public transport users. And then in the second to last paragraph, it says our councillors are aware of the ongoing cost of living pressures and acknowledge that changes council has been asked to make. After that, I would add by NZTA or by coalition government or whatever is suitable. But it just gives context who asked us to make the changes. And then under the prior year surplus, I note as you read it, you make mention, or we make mention of a 6.04 million value. We make mention of a 4.5 million value. We make mention of a $414,000 value. I think some people might read it and say, well, okay, you start at 6 million, you take 414,000 off, but that's not 4.5 million. Is there some way we could help address that maths question that may pop up for people so that we don't get a whole lot of feedback about maths? And I'd be very happy to support Councillor Ma's comment about removing the comprehensive consent renewals. Agree.
Just
that
what
came up by misunderstanding in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, just while you brought that up, just looking for support for that, to remove the Coromandel consents. I know it was suggested at one point, so I just want to gauge, everybody okay to take that out?
Yeah, it's what the constituent councillor likes, so
Okay,
happy to support.
Great, all right, just wanted to test. All right, I've got Councillor Strange and then Councillor Hughes. Councillor Strange.
Yeah, just on the phone numbers. Yeah, mine's also not correct, and I note that Jen and Chris have the same phone number. So, yeah, so they might all need checking.
That is just getting double. All right, Councillor Hughes.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a point that Councillor Nicol raised regarding the reasons for the fare increases. We'd actually approved fare increases as council, so it's not entirely NZTA's fault. We've also done the same. So if we're going to point the finger at NZTA, I think we need to take some responsibilities.
Yeah, really happy for that to be reflected. That wasn't the intention to.
It is in the first bullet point where we say that 6.4% is due to inflationary increases. That's the bit we're willing to own. It's the second bullet point that is a result of NZTA direction. So
we decided as a result of direction, as long as it comes through, I think that's okay. Thank you. Yeah, I do wonder around the public transport text. We did add a little bit more reasons as to why our preferred option is option 1. There were a couple of other reasons that we had, such as option 1 is more reflecting ability to pay. I'm getting confused between options for a minute. One's more reflecting ability to pay, and the other one was, you've got equal access, even though it doesn't depend on the value of the property. I wondered whether to push to put those in there because we're going to get people mentioning that stuff, and that way they would know that we're. But I don't want to make it complicated either. So I just know we're going to get a lot of feedback on that topic. Yeah. But it's great how you've already adjusted the text, so happy to leave it as is.
great. Hey, thank you, councillors, for your feedback on this. I would suggest that probably in future, it would be helpful for us, because some of this is editorial, like phone numbers and things like that. It probably would be helpful just so that the team can get ahead of it, seeing as we are opening for consultation next Tuesday. It would be helpful for us to send these things through as soon as we see them. And that way the team has a running list, and then we can test support across the table. Great. All right. Okay, with that, do I have a mover for the adoption of the consultation document? Katrina, I've got a mover in Councillor Hodge and a second in Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, councillors, the next two items we're going to take are going to be, we're going to do item 7.4, and I'm going to move item 7.6 immediately following. So 7.4 is the notice of motion regarding the LGNZ membership that Councillor Hughes has put forward. And then 7.6 is the LGNZ conference and AGM 2025 attendance. Since they are both in relation to LGNZ, we will take them one after the other. Okay, so we've got item 7.4. This is on page 180 of your agenda. I have a notice of motion. Councillor Hughes has put forward, and it's been seconded by Councillor Smith. Councillor Hughes, would you like to speak to your notice of motion?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Look, I've put this up. I know I raised this at a council-only meeting some 2 or 3 months. It was after the last LGNZ meeting in Wellington, and there wasn't a lot of support around the table. So I asked the question, can you please tell me what you actually feel we're getting out of LGNZ? And I'm still waiting to hear from anybody. So I thought on that basis, best to put a motion, because it is an expensive exercise belonging to these external bodies. I've had a little bit of feedback from staff on it, and I think their issues regarding training can be adequately addressed. I would really like to see a paper presented to councillors so we can make a reasoned judgment on whether we believe we're getting value for money from all the activities and costs associated with belonging to LGNZ. My view has become too political, and it's not serving the purpose that I think an organisation that is supposed to be representative of all the local government organisations around New Zealand, and we can see that by the numbers that are actually agreeing with it and walking with their votes and saying we don't want to be a part of this any longer. So that's why it's here. I think we need to have a discussion about it. Thank you.
All right, just in terms of, you said nobody has come back to you. I've had a number of conversations with you, Councillor Hughes, about the value I see in LGNZ, but happy to.
Sorry, Madam Chair. I was hoping to get a mixed spread of ideas from around the table rather than just one.
To say that nobody has come back to you would be inaccurate, Councillor
Yeah,
Hughes.
sorry, I didn't realise that you wanted us to.
I'm happy to provide. I did ask the question.
feedback.
You may not have. You may
Yeah,
have
not
not been
have
there, Jen. Sorry.
Picked it up.
I've got Councillor Clarkson, then Nicol, then Smith. Councillor Clarkson.
I'd just like to pick up on the last point. You verbally asked the question and I gave you an answer in the same way that the chair did. I talked about some of the value that I found in attending the conference and some of the elements, particularly around the committee that was being run in relation to electoral reform and being led by Nick Smith, which I thought was doing a great job. So I think you have had some feedback. The other point I want to make is that in order to understand how local government New Zealand works, it pays to attend some events. So the president came along to this council. We had a workshop in the room over there and we were given an opportunity to give feedback, and some of us gave quite direct feedback about how we thought they could improve process. So I'm just inviting you, Councillor Hughes, to participate in that process, because you know, standing back and just saying they're of no value and then not fronting up and having a discussion with them is I don't think, good form. So I just wanted to support the role of local government New Zealand. Again, the Zone 2 meetings. If you don't attend a zone meeting, you don't actually know what the hell they're doing. So just encouraging you to participate, because that's the only way you will find out whether they do add value. And I make the point that they're not perfect. And I called them out on a couple of matters when they came to the workshop here in the council, particularly around their processes around induction, where I felt they could improve their performance. So I just wanted to, you know, I'm not against the idea, Councillor Hughes, of a report which gives us a better analysis, you know, some better data on what we're actually getting from them, I wouldn't oppose that at all. But I just wanted to make the point that participation is critical to understanding how they operate, and I do support the continued membership of Local Government New Zealand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clarkson. Councillor Nicol.
Yeah, so as my feedback, I have participated in the young elected members group, and I found it very supportive for that. Some of the feedback that I gave to them recently, actually, when they were here on the 3rd of March, was that I think they should go broader actually with their support groups that they have. So they've got young elected members and some kind of women's network. I actually think that they should have something for everyone, not just some minority groups. Or, you know, because some of those solutions that they're trying to seek, I believe, through those groups are actually found in the other places. So, you know, that's the thing. I'm uncomfortable with the premise of immediately jumping to conclusions or kind of implying conclusions that we might not want to continue membership of LGNZ in the context of recent weeks where Western Bays chose to jump out, you know, this an attempt to just be like them. I respect Auckland Council's decision to not be a member because they made it at the start of the triennium and they were committing their council to that. I wouldn't want to commit the coming council within the next 6 months or so to a decision. I just think it's too late in the triennium for this one. When I saw the motion, I thought, oh, this was something we could have canvassed at some stage during the Finance Committee or, you know, for example. So, but I do get the conversation should happen with full council, and so I can kind of see where it's come from. Yeah, so if we're not happy with them, I think we should give them formal feedback of the things that they should change, and that usually would be done in a letter. I think as a first step, I wouldn't ever want to jump immediately to saying let's just exit without giving them any formal feedback. Although very happy to chat about, you know, ABC, that type of thing, because it's important that we're all kind of on the same page for these things. That's it for now. Thanks.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I've supported this motion so that it's come out onto the table, and I have my own personal views as to what I think of LGNZ or not. However, Councillor Clarkson touched on the issue for me, and it reminds me, and I won't go onto this too long, but a farmer was asked why he was doing something, and he said, well, that's what Dad did. And if you continue to do what Dad did forever and ever, is it still the right thing to be doing years later? And so the issue here is, should we be part of LGNZ or not? When was the question last asked? And do we now understand why we are part of it and what benefits come to council? And it is on that basis alone that I support this going to a wider discussion. So absolutely supporting this, and without predetermining what the outcome might be. But we need to understand why we're part of it and that we should continue in gain the benefits from it. Thank you.
Councillor Strange.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have also no problem with 2A, B and C. I always think it's good to get good information. However, yeah, the timing of it this late in the triennium, and I find it a little bit ironic when you say it's too political. Seems we are in a political environment as local government interacting with central government. Yeah, I also attended the workshop and with our LGNZ president and CE, deputy CE, and yeah, gave them honest feedback as well. So that was the opportunity to actually have a conversation and build that relationship as well. To me, being part of LGNZ is part of that regional leadership conversation as well. So, you know, all of our TAs are part of it. It's a good opportunity for us to interact. Zone 2 last week was a great example of getting alongside our colleagues within the region, and Bay of Plenty as well, and yeah, talking through current issues. But yeah, looking forward to the data, and if we do want value for money, then we need to actually use what we're paying for. So the online training and the events that they do run. Thank you.
Councillor Mahuta.
Kia ora, just checking you can hear me.
Yes,
Kia ora, just checking you can hear me, Pamela.
yes, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you to both councillors for raising the matter. I'm just wondering, because this is a governance membership by subscription thing, the staff can only at best do the financial report. The value derived benefits have to come from all of us. So just asking, are we asking the staff to write a report that they're not efficiently? It's like we don't report on Slogham, the one that they attend. So I'm just saying, what can we get out of this report other than the finance? Because again, as councillors are adding, the benefits have to be discussed by us. And just in terms of being too political, I'd like to understand what it is councillors are pointing to, because it's quite a broad statement and we're in a political year. And my only measure is, are they sector political? Are they assuring they're representing the views of the membership and the zones? So that's the accountability. So again, the zone reporting, the training, and then having joined LGNZ a bit before you guys, some of you, Te Maruata, the Māori Forum, we were one group around the table, now we fill a room. So again, it's the only forum in local government that supports Māori members. So I put that plug into. Kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor Mahuta. Councillor Kneebone.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So look, if this notice of motion is a facade to with an ultimate aim of withdrawing us from LGNZ, then I don't support it. But if it's to inform some constructive feedback to LGNZ, then I'm happy to, noting that some of these things are easy for us to get off, any councillor to get off the LGNZ website. I don't think we should be making a decision as to whether or not we continue to belong to LGNZ at this point in time, because Chris McClay, you might be help me, but I forget what the cut-off date is for us as elected councillors to make these sorts of decisions, but we're only a couple of months away or 4 months away from it, as I recall. And so, look, it's ultimately a decision for the next council. Nothing wrong with this council providing a council view for the next council to consider. The other point I would make is that I don't want us as a council going alone, either within the region or within the country. I just think it just makes no sense at all. There's a reason why farmers have fed farmers, why Beef and Lamb have their organisation, why Dairy NZ exists, and unless someone's got a better idea for what sort of grouping could represent council's interests, noting that we are creatures of statute, and there's a reason why we want to have good relationships with the Minister of Local Government, whoever that may be at whatever time, So that's kind of where I sit, Madam Chair. So yeah, I hope all that made sense. So thank you.
I think you make a really good point, Councillor Kneebone, around if we frame this conversation up, or whatever conversation comes as a result of this motion, if we frame that up around advice to an incoming council, I think that that's probably the best way that we can enable the next council to have an informed position on this.
The other point I would make is that if our council collectively has views on what LGNZ should do better or what they should stop doing, then hey, let's send a council letterhead, a letter from them with council letterhead on our council feedback to them. But we've got to have a bit of interaction with them over what our issues are before we go down the track of pulling the pin on our membership. That's just stupid. If that's not political, I don't know what the hell it is. Yeah. Thank you.
And we did have that opportunity to give them face-to-face feedback very recently, and it's unfortunate that not all councillors were able to attend or chose to attend. Councillor Hodge.
Well, okay. Well, listening to what Tipper has said and Stu Kneebone, I guess my korero was around that. But I do understand this motion around A, B, and C. You know, there's nothing wrong with us wanting to know what we spend in that space. I don't have a problem with that at all. I didn't see in here anything about do we stay or do we go? Do we go? I just thought it was an excellent
It's in-
question.
it's in
Plus the
point one.
cost and that, you know. Yeah, it just says the staff table report of April meeting, blah, 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 yeah, but you know,
But
it
it's
doesn't say in or
for
out.
consideration of
out.
continued membership.
Yeah.
It
But
is
so
specific.
listening from us who've been around the table for a long time, we have used LGNZ quite often. We used it to understand what conflict of interest was what was the one we had a lot of trouble with between our last chair and one of the members. We used all of the information around helping us how to deal with that. We also, they are our line besides the chair between the council and the Crown. So there is some real good reasons why I think we should be there. But I do agree with what Pamela and Stu said, let's put something together for the next council to consider. But we need to be really upfront about what that actually is and isn't. Because for a new bunch of councillors to come in and try and understand what the old councillors may have put in, I'm not saying we're all going to leave, but you know, it's not easy for them to understand that. So we're going to have to rely on our CEO because he should be the only one who's got a job when we all get the person at the end of the year. But going from that, Chris has been around for a long time, been involved with councillors in LGNZ for some time. If the cost is a problem, then we should be only sending one person. And that's usually the chair, the CEO pays his own way. We get invited to go because we are all allowed to go. You know, we get invited to go. You don't have to go. I haven't been to AGM because I didn't see the reason why I need to. I relied totally on our chair and CEO to come back with the information. But I have been to the Māori one that Pepper talked about because, and it's good networking, guys. I think it's sad if we consider that we shouldn't be there. I just think it's
Councillor Marr.
Thank you. Just to Chris's point, I do remember the last time that we organised members to go down to the AGM that he did ask for a written report to come back to council. I was one of those members that travelled down there, so I apologise for not following through on that, Chris, although we did have verbal conversations, as obviously a number of councillors have. What I would say is I don't see any predetermination here at all, and I do support this for the information value that will come back to us. So I just think we can make more improved ideas, and whether that's to the next incoming council or what it may be, but information is power, and that's where I sit. Thank you.
Councillor Cookson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I support the motion as well, but the only thing I'd like to do is maybe make an amendment that it is all membership of organisations we belong to, not just our LGNZ, that we know the true cost of all our memberships of organisations we belong to.
Those do get presented to us, don't they, as part of the long-term plan process, the workshops that I've seen the membership costs come through.
I like that idea.
It's not that, sorry, Madam Chair, it's that we know all the costs of all the organisations and members, or sorry, shouldn't say organisations, memberships that we belong to, and that will help with the thing is that, okay, the membership of LGNZ is this, and that's, and CoLab and everything else, so then we can analyse and do a good, work through a good process of understanding, okay, what is the benefits? I think it's unfair just to pick on one organisation.
Yeah, that's fair. I support that.
Mic off. Okay, I'm just wondering about if we're talking about wording. I think that that's a great addition if a paper is going to come back to council. I'm just wondering if it's for consideration in terms of a recommendation to next council around membership organizations, but just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Councillor Smith.
I think on your point that you've just raised, Madam Chair, that could be something that arises from this report. And let's go back to the comments that I made earlier. I'm supporting this because we need to understand why we continue to be a member. And there's been some good points made from both sides of the argument. So it's really not about predetermining the outcome now. It's about reviewing and basically justifying and being satisfied that membership brings benefits. To Robbie's point, it's something that we probably could look at all organisations and whether that's a subsequent, rather than getting it all tied up in one and complicating it, whether that is a subsequent motion arising. If you start mixing it all, the message starts to get lost, is my concern. So,
Noted.
yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
All right.
Madam Chair, could I move an amendment, please?
What are your thoughts for an amendment? Because there's already an
What are
amendment kind of being drafted.
I don't know if you can
Maybe
see
we
your
can-
screen because there's, and I'm not sure. I am going to. We could foreshadow an amendment. There you go.
Could it
Foreshadow
not be,
away.
could it be changed to remove continued?
Go ahead, Stu, if you want to.
My suggestion was that staff table report at the April council meeting to inform the next council of the value of our membership of what for WRC of LGNZ, or something along those lines. Because this number one suggests that we're thinking about pulling the pin next month, and that's not what I'm prepared to support.
I would support that foreshadowed amendment.
Can I talk to that foreshadow?
Hang on a second. I've got,
Well, you just
yes,
said you supported it.
You're foreshadowing an amendment without the amendment being.
She has seconded it.
Sorry. So we shouldn't be discussing the foreshadowed amendment. Deal with the amendment.
Could I suggest
but
that
we can foreshadow it.
Yeah, could I suggest that Robbie's one's a bit different and probably an additional one?
Is it a new motion? Would it be a
Yeah.
new motion? A separate motion?
Yeah, because
Just
So both the amendment and foreshadowed amendment we have on the table are valid. They're not direct negative or ruled out in that respect. Best thing to do from here would be to clear the two amendments one at a time, see where they sit, because obviously we could carry the first amendment and the foreshadow amendment could override that. So best just to step through it one piece at a time.
I also see Tipper's hand still up. And it's hard to participate when you're online, so it might be worth having her soon. But I'm just mindful that making these on the fly is messy. I think it would be nice for the council to just consider what a process they might like to go through to come up with whatever outcomes we're going. Because I believe that rather than a meeting of council, a workshop and then something coming back might be helpful to resolving some of this stuff. So maybe we just take a 5-minute break and.
Yeah, I think we're going to take we're going to adjourn for 5 minutes and just allow us to gather our thoughts on this. All right. So
Could
we'll
I
adjourn
just-
the meeting.
Could I just
Maybe
make
let
one
the-
comment,
Oh,
Madam
sorry.
Chair? I was just
Sorry.
saying,
Yes.
I'm not
Before we
against-
adjourn, I just want to let Councillor Kneebone. Yeah.
I'm not against what Robbie and Downard are asking for, but the point is that you've got to ask for a whole bunch of reports of all industry bodies and groups as well, which is really, really big. And that's one I definitely think staff should, because we should have a process to do what they're asking for, but that's really, really big, and we need to think about what that process looks like. That was all.
All right. And before we consider that, I do want to allow our chief executive to make a comment.
So I think that in putting this through, we're going to have to consider the content, because there are things that council are a member of, and I think that we don't want to confuse things that council have a shareholding in. So that's my first point. There's a lot of memberships which relate to professional memberships for staff or groups of staff. And a lot of that is covered by training and development budgets and so on. So I assume we're talking about things that council in it as a whole are members of only. And I think it's implicit in the discussion and the intent of what was put in, but you're only asking for really the factual content that we know of costs and benefits and no value judgment on that, because that's what you want to have a discussion of later on.
Okay, so just before we adjourn, because I know it can be difficult when you are online to participate in these. So I did see hands up from Councillor Mahuta as well as Councillor Dunbar Smith. Before we adjourn, did you, either of you want to say anything?
If I could just pick up where Chris left off, I think.
Sure.
Again, just to reiterate, staff can estimate the cost. The benefits of our membership can only be determined by a survey of council laws. Staff can't jump to that because they're not members themselves. So just want to give them something they can do, but they won't be able to assess the benefits. We'll have to do that. Thanks, Pamela.
Great, thank you. Councillor Dunbar Smith, did you want to make any comments?
Yes, I just wanted to pick up on the point that Robbie has made there in relation to membership of all industry bodies. If this report is heading towards informing the next council, it would be useful to have not a detailed explanation of each of the memberships, but certainly the costs and a one-line sentence to indicate to Uri Kihaka, for example, I think it's $400,000 a year. So that was something that didn't arrive to my knowledge until earlier last year. So it would just be useful to have that. And I wonder whether that could be item 3. So it's in addition to the points 1 and 2. So that's just something to consider, that there's a table that gives the additional cost for membership.
All right. We're just going to adjourn this meeting for, let's do 10 minutes. All right. We'll be back at 11:10 a.m.